Hello, Uta here with an anemone. And I think it's a cross between Onorinjo bear variety, which is white, and robustissimo, which is more of a magenta color for the flowers. They cross-pollinated and seeded themselves in my garden. Anemones are very good for that. Let's see, I guess we get to see it that way. And then my new dahlia, I just love this kind of scarlet colored one. It's something like busy bees or bumblebee or something like that. It was a variety. I didn't know it was a color mix. I didn't know which colors I would get. And we have some sweet peas, phlox, and the Jowie Winnie dahlias in that big peak of summer bouquet. So, yes, our channel here is called Trans Widow Uta Heggen, and my Substack blog, where you can read the transcripts and find out about various sources, which are, like me, debunking the trans movement, the trans treatment complex. Industry, actually. That's what someone called it. Dr. Laffert, when he was doing his testimony at the Federal Trade Commission Day, which you can go to my blog and read in 2 or 3 parts, the transcripts of Dr. Laffert's testimony. He's a reconstructive plastic surgeon who thoroughly objects to these so-called sex reassignment surgeries being called reconstructive surgery because they are elective plastic cosmetic surgery. All right, so anyway, that's my Substack, utaheggen.substack.com, and it's always free. I never monetize. If I thought that I could start creating a slush fund for the legal fees of trans widows and etc., I would try to monetize, but I don't think I would be able to make enough money through that method to make a difference for trans widows, because unfortunately when you're going through those divorces, the legal fees are kind of astronomical. In 1990s dollars, I paid more than 40,000 US dollars for the legal fees in my 4-year court process of divorce. Because at that time, the judge was, I think he was wavering about how much visitation time he should give. We were in actually a custody battle. Nettie wanted custody of our children and sought every which way to defame me. And in fact, the defamation is quite remarkable and reveals the narcissism of the entire transgender treatment industry. I found out, after doing a little bit of online sleuthing, that after I published my book, my older son was defamed as a transphobic author, without the mention of Uta Heggen or that your mother put out this book, how could you let her do this? Nothing like that. He was accused on Instagram of being a transphobic author. Now, my sons have never published any books and do not publish articles or anything. And so none of that makes any sense, but it does help me to process and understand why the fact that I'm telling the truth and helping my sisterhood of trans widows is actually threatening to them, because they get smeared with false claims about me that are transferred to them. That is what these people do. Okay, so these are women in Australia, and I heard of them through the new YouTube channel called De-Sexing Society. 2 words, de-sexing and society. Thank you to Stasia Frey, who is the originator of that channel. And there's also a very good one on there now. I think I linked it in our community page from Emma, who, like me, was in Behind the Looking Glass. She is the daughter of an autogynephile. So so there was Maggie and Lauren, which are both pen names, and their husbands, suddenly went down this rabbit hole of cross-dressing and claiming to be female. With both of them, it was his revelation. And with Lauren's husband, he said, "We're lesbians." For Maggie, he did sexually assault her. For Lauren, he did make demands that she has to try to use a dildo and pretend to be male so that he can be pretending to be female in their bedroom. And with Lauren, he stole her clothes and makeup. And with Maggie, he defamed her to all of their friends. He had a habit of secret spending that she found out about. With Lauren, there was the really extreme, unusual requests, is how she has put it, that are related to this sissy hypno porn. So she was supposed to be enacting these scenarios that he's been watching on these odious pornography channels. And this is why I object so much to this pornography and prostitution person, Bonnie Blue, because she thinks she's doing favors, and the men are likely to, in their next relationship, where they might be trying to actually make a future with a woman, they may demand for that woman to start acting like Bonnie Blue, who is encouraging these men to be very violent. So that's my little aside on that. In both of these cases, they did not have children. Maggie wasn't able to leave because it was such a financial disaster. She had to figure out how to save up enough money to make her new life. Oh, yes, with Maggie's husband, he's doing blackout drinking. She finally left with 2 bags and their 2 dogs. He dragged out the divorce. This is classic. Getting the settlement took 2 years. She came home to find him in some lingerie. And interestingly, he's a war history buff. Obviously an autogynephile, a man who gets aroused, sexually aroused by the concept and behavior acting out himself, in quotes, so-called, as a woman. Oh, yes. This often happens if the woman has a health emergency. She had a couple of brain surgeries for aneurysms, which thank goodness she survived, and I guess is all well now. It escalated when she was going through recovery from those surgeries. And he had a storage shed. Again, the storage shed. This is this is a little subset of the trans widows where he has some away from home shed where he's keeping all of his alter ego wardrobe items. In this case, he called himself Frida when he was female. And getting back to Lauren, he was in such a mode of coercive control of her that he took away her key to their home. And so she had to knock on the door and wait for him to answer. And he would angrily follow her and was stalking her. He threw a broom in her face. I think in my data I have to count that as physical assault. So, Maggie was the subject of sexual assault, and Lauren was the subject of physical assault and sexual coercion. And he, goodness, he was some angry dude. He kicked the windshield out in the car and used a lot of physical intimidation. I'm wishing that I had a question about if he did not actually physically assault you, did he engage in physical harassment and intimidation, which was very frightening because I had a little bit of that. Nettie would throw things around. And these trans widows who are giving me information are so honest. And, the data actually attests to that because 99.9% of us could say, yes, he physically assaulted me or sexually assaulted me. And the rate is a steady about 34 to 35% of men are violent both sexually and physically. She worked and he didn't. Oh, my goodness. And he had a background in the military and was skilled in tech. He controlled her money. This is financial abuse of both Maggie and Lauren. And he had what's called tranny porn, that is probably sissy hypno porn, on his computer. So I'm pretty glad that they did not, either of them, have children with him. One of them moved on and did subsequently, with a good man, have a child. And it could be that I'm going to kind of compile the next few trans widows together just to save time and to show how there are very much patterns of behavior, consistent patterns of behavior on the part of these men, and the mental health practitioners willfully make sure that they remain ignorant of this through the suppression of the trans widows, through silencing us. And exactly what this troll did to my son on Instagram is a method to silence us. He triangulated, I'm assuming it was a male, through my son to get at me for publishing my memoir in the Curated Woods, which contains happy memories of my motherhood and my son's childhood at the end of each chapter, and intersperses each true tale of what I went through with my process of healing outside. I'm just going to give you a close-up now of this stunning bouquet. Yeah, like I always say, plant the flowers and count the butterflies.